Welcome back. And in today's News Daily video, I'll be focusing on 3 stories today. They're going to be on the latest reports surrounding David Alaba from Bayern Munich. Of course, I need to speak about the 70 million links with West Ham's Declan Rice. And to end things, I'll be moving on to Fiorentina and I'll be speaking about their winger in Chiesa. Now, before I get into anything, today's video is brought to you by the OneFootball app. I like to use the OneFootball app to get the perspective from both sides. For example, now that we're linked with Declan Rice, I can use the OneFootball app to go onto West Ham's page and see the latest news in regards to Rice from a West Ham point of view. I can use it to go to Bayern Munich's page to get the latest surrounding Alaba from a Bayern's point of view. Honestly, the app is so convenient. There are so many good uses for it. It's why I constantly back it every single time. If you guys want to try it out for yourselves, you'll find a link below in the description below. Now, wasting no more time, let's start with the first story of the day. And of course, I want to talk about these David Alaba links. Now, this report was first broken by Guillem Balague from his personal YouTube channel. So what I'm about to do right now is play you guys a small snippet from what Guillem had to say.
There's another player that, if available, if not wanted by others, if he doesn't go anywhere else, Chelsea will like, and is Alaba. He's been approached by other clubs, yes, but Chelsea will be interested in Alaba, and I think that his versatility will really work in favour of Frank Lampard. He can play, as you know, in the middle, in the midfield, in the fullback position as well. Of course, that's where he's known, very well known as. But Pep Guardiola made him much more than just a fullback, and it will be interesting to see him in the Premier League. That's certainly one.
Interesting reports, and we know that sometimes with Guillem, you know, he's not necessarily getting all these stories correct. But there are some realities, and that reality is David Alaba's contract is about to expire in 1 year's time. Him and his dad have recently signed with super agent Pini Zahavi, and you know, whenever you sign up with an agent like this, you're signing up with him to get business done. Now, it could be that he does decide to stay at Bayern Munich, or he could decide to look for pastures new and really test his football out in different leagues. Now, due to this current pandemic, talks between Alaba and Bayern Munich are currently at a standstill. So it's really no surprise that clubs from across Europe are going to use this opportunity to hold informal talks with his agent and the player. Now, this pandemic has definitely affected transfer business for the season. Naturally, clubs aren't moving too aggressively, and it's no surprise to me that they're using this current opportunity to hold lots of informal talks to really just cast their nets wide to find the best possible targets. When it comes to David Alaba, there's a possibility that he might renew his contract with Bayern Munich. Of course, if he was given the contract demands he wants, and if he was given the opportunity to play in midfield, then Bayern Munich could keep their man. And it's quite interesting because reports have stated that Alaba has been a bit frustrated that he has not been promised opportunities in midfield. When he first signed his contract back in the 14-15 season, it was stated in the contract that he would get these opportunities. But since then, Kimmich has signed and he's been playing in midfield over Alaba. This season, Alaba has predominantly played as a centre-back due to all the injuries in that area that Bayern have faced. And it's quite clear that Alaba just doesn't want to play as a centre-back. Alaba spent his entire career at Bayern Munich. Is it now time for the player to move on? If that's the case, then obviously Alaba's going to be an amazing option for us. And I know that I've been saying this so often throughout these videos, but as I keep stressing, in this current market, when has there ever been an abundance of top quality left back options? From Tagliafico to your Alex Telles's, to your Grimaldos, to your Chilwells, to even Alexandro, there are so many top quality left back options available, and all these guys suit how we play. So we're in that situation where whoever we sign, we're going to be blessed. In that sense, does this give us further indication as to why the Alex Telles links have kind of slowed down a bit? It came out earlier today that FC Porto are even willing to sell the player for 22 million euros. I mean, the valuation keeps falling every single time. Even Paris Saint-Germain haven't made any formal moves just yet. And it's as I said earlier, you guys, I get the impression across Europe right now is to really assess every possible option. You don't have to be aggressive right now. And that's because we do not know when the football season is about to return. As Balague did state though, it's going to take a lot of unique circumstances to sign a player like Alaba. Of course, if he was available, then you can imagine that clubs like Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid and Barcelona are all going to be active to try and sign the player, and reports previously have even stated that Alaba could be tempted to play in La Liga. And on top of that, would Alaba only sign for a club if they promise him game time in midfield? If you're asking me personally, I can't imagine clubs spending massive amounts of money to use Alaba in a position that he only plays in when he's playing for his national team. However, we're in an opportunity where no one's really making anything happen right now. We can afford to wait and see what happens, and of course, if Alaba links do intensify, you guys know that you're definitely going to hear these stories first on Blue Lions TV. And now we move on to the second story for the day, and that's in regards to Declan Rice. Now, earlier this morning, Matt Law did release an article suggesting that West Ham may be tempted to cash in on the player. The article does state that West Ham are looking to completely overhaul their team, but to do that, they need to raise the funds. So Declan Rice could be that solution to generate the money. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Declan Rice, 70 million. How does this make any sense? But let's just see it from a business perspective. If you're West Ham and you're potentially looking to sell one of your best players, then it's only natural that you're going to overinflate the fee. I don't think we should take this too literally, and you guys bear with me as I continue through this video. Matt Law does state that we could look to re-sign Declan Rice, so it's not suggesting that he's become the main target, but if you're asking me, I'm sure that he's being strongly considered right now because it seems quite natural that we will be in the market for a defensive style of midfield player. Now, I've told you guys this before, but Declan Rice would actually love to re-sign for us, and he's not the only one. Right now, we are a hot commodity with every young, talented English player, and as Matt Law states, we may look to use players as a part exchange to bring that fee down for Declan Rice. Now, the two notable players that have been linked are Ross Barkley and Michy Batshuayi. With Barkley, you get the impression that his game time will come down now that Loftus-Cheek will be back for the next season. And with Michy, Lampard just doesn't rate the player anymore. Now, interestingly, West Ham have held previous interest in Ross Barkley and Michy Batshuayi, so could they be more inclined to do a player plus cash to sell Declan Rice? Now, I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and opinions, and immediately, I guess Declan Rice is being looked at as an alternative to Jorginho. Now, at this point in time with Jorginho, ideally he doesn't mind staying with us, but also he is not impartial to returning back to Serie A. He knows that under Sarri, he plays the right style of football. Sarri is desperate to bring the player to Juventus to kickstart his Sarri ball, and this could be the best time to get the maximum amount of money from a Jorginho sell. So in that sense, it's no surprise why players like Soumare and Declan Rice have been linked with us over the past few months. They're both young, they both have high potential, but obviously I need to focus on Declan Rice. And one thing that I do want to say is that when you judge the player, only looking at stats doesn't fully paint the best picture. The reason for that is that West Ham are a team that have used like a million different formations this season. They're a team known for having poor team defensive work rate. You know, they're a team that are very bad when it comes to defending in the wide areas. You know, West Ham for me are synonymous with not fighting for each other. I've seen that time and time again with them. Every now and then they do pull together and they can produce a great performance, but there's a reason why West Ham are just never consistent. I like Declan Rice. He has the ability to play in a two-man midfield and in a three-man midfield, and of course as a defender as well. I also like Declan Rice because since he's made his debut for West Ham, he's been a player that's improved every single season. I mean it, he's really improved every single season. His passing has become a lot better. His positioning when it comes to receiving the ball from his defenders has only got better. And when you combine his ability to learn and improve with the fact that defensively when it comes to winning duels, aerially, on the ground, recoveries, etc, then Declan Rice does score really high. I think as a fan base, when it comes to judging 21-year-olds and players under 23, we have to stop looking at them like they're 32 or 31. You know, when you're that young, your game is not complete. You can become an even better player, and every young player we're linked with, we have to always like unconsciously remember if you sign for us, you're signing for a club that gets the best out of young players. There's a reason why our academy is the best in the world, and that's because we have the best coaches that know how to develop players and get the very best out of them. So if it means that we're linked with Declan Rice for 70 million, that doesn't necessarily mean that Rice is a 70 million player. It just means that he has the potential to become an even better player, and obviously coaches and Lampard feel like they can get the very best out of him. Playing for teams like West Ham can be very hard. And that's because West Ham do not have a philosophy when their team plays, and as I mentioned before, they are extremely weak defending the wide areas. The wingers rarely track back. We saw that when we played against them as well, and for a young player in Declan Rice that's still learning the game, it makes your job even harder. So the fact that he can still cope and he's learning and he's adapting, I think it tells you everything about the player. Now I can imagine that some may just immediately just cast their mind to the friendship with Mason Mount and Declan Rice and maybe think that Mount's having an influence in his transfer. Of course not. I'm not even going to debate that. I'm not even trying to sound arrogant, but if you think that, just completely erase that from your memory. To end with the story, am I saying that we need to definitely sign Declan Rice? No. Personally, I prefer Samari from Lille. However, I think Declan Rice does have a high ceiling. I think he has a lot of potential. I've seen the improvements every single season, and I think that when he reaches the age of 23, 24, he could become an exceptional CDM. If West Ham did accept players as a part exchange for a deal to bring Rice in, and if the business side worked in our favour, then I wouldn't be opposed to this deal. Rice would be one of 5 CDMs that I'd like us to sign. But you guys in the comment section below, give me your thoughts and opinions. Do you think he could bring something to the club, or do you think that he's just another overrated English player and he's a player that we definitely cannot sign? Now you guys, to end with the final report for the day, I now want to talk about Federico Chiesa. Now this story was reported by Chiesa Report, and they're saying that us, Inter Milan, Juventus and Man United are all following Chiesa. Now when it comes to stories like this, we have to realise that for a club of our size and our stature, we have a massive scouting network. We have a lot of scouts on big money, so naturally they're going to scour all across Europe, assessing up and coming youngsters and unknown qualities as well. So it's no surprise that Chiesa would be a player that would be looked at, because when you look at his profile, you know, he does fit certain criteria. He plays on the right wing, he has a left foot, he likes to cut inside, you know, he's got decent movement in behind, etc, etc, and naturally he has a reputation in Serie A. But if you're asking me, does this mean that we're going to sign Chiesa? I don't think so. I see it from a different perspective. These stories give us an indication in regards to the profile of player we're looking at, and it tells us what the scouts are actually doing. For example, with Pedro and Willian looking like they're about to leave the club, it seems quite obvious that whoever we replace them with is going to be playing down the right wing and needs to have the ability to cut inside. Now going back to reports, they're saying that his father, Enrico Chiesa, a former professional player, prefers his son to stay in Serie A to boost his hopes of representing Italy in the Euros. However, Chiesa isn't opposed to moving abroad if the right opportunity comes. Now I think for this part, you guys, I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on the player, and I'm going to be absolutely honest. For me, Chiesa is like a counter-attacking winger, and for me, he's way too erratic. You know, in the final third, his decision-making still isn't good, and this is a player that's played first-team football for Fiorentina for consecutive seasons. I think when it comes to playing the right passes in the final third, it's too inconsistent. I think his shot selection. This is a player who takes a lot of shots per game, but he's rarely testing the keeper. And it's quite obvious when you see him play, because a lot of times he's only taking long shots outside the box. He's not setting himself up in the right positions. He's not taking the right shots at the right time. And, you know, if you sign for a team like us, where we do play against low blocks, then your use of the ball in the final third has to be a lot more efficient. Now, Chiesa does have explosive pace, and he's very athletic. And for those reasons, I see him as a counter-attacking winger, and for a team like Fiorentina, yeah, that's going to suit them best. For me, I don't think he's good enough yet to step up to play for a club like us, so I think he's a player that we have to completely dismiss. But anyway, you guys, that's going to be me for today. What did you think of the 3 stories today? Make sure you interact and comment below. And of course, if you liked today's video, do not forget to smash that like button. Help me go over 1,500 likes. And on that point, I'm going to wrap things up and keep things moving. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. I'll see you guys later for some more videos.